This is not a lesson in communication, and it is not a guide for becoming more likable, expressive, or socially visible. If your goal is to be acknowledged, affirmed, or emotionally recognized, this will not give you what you are looking for. In fact, it may take those comforts away from you entirely. Most men believe they are ignored because they lack presence. They assume they are overlooked because they are not assertive enough, not charismatic enough, not loud enough. They respond to being ignored by increasing output. They speak more, explain more, react faster. They attempt to force attention through clarity and contribution, and in doing so, they disappear even faster. Being ignored is rarely the result of absence. It is the result of excess. Too much availability, too much signal, too much emotional transparency. When everything about you is immediately legible, the nervous system categorizes you quickly and moves on. What is understood does not require attention. This is the uncomfortable truth most men avoid. Attention is not drawn to what is obvious. It is drawn to what cannot be resolved. Human systems, whether social or psychological, are designed to filter noise. They ignore what is predictable. They bypass what repeats. They conserve energy by focusing only on what disrupts pattern recognition. When you explain yourself fully, you remove friction. When you react instantly, you remove tension. When you reveal intention, you remove uncertainty. And uncertainty is what holds attention. Most men are trained to eliminate uncertainty around themselves. They believe it is responsible, polite, cooperative. They fill silence reflexively. They answer before being asked. They clarify tone, emotion, and motive to prevent misunderstanding. They believe being understood is safety. But safety is not visibility. Safety is forgettable. When you remove uncertainty, you remove gravity. There's no reason to lean in, to observe more closely, or to stay alert. You become part of the background signal the system has already learned how to ignore. This is why some men speak constantly and are never heard. This video explores the opposite approach. Not dominance, not performance, not confrontation. Stillness. Stillness as a signal rather than an absence. Silence as structure rather than withdrawal. The void as something that acts on others rather than something you fall into. Most men misunderstand stillness because they associate it with weakness. They imagine silence as submission, passivity, or fear of expression. That belief comes from shallow environments where speed, reaction, and visibility are rewarded artificially. In those environments, slowing down looks like falling behind. But outside of those systems, stillness carries mass. The moment you stop filling space, the space begins to work on others. The moment you stop explaining yourself, assumptions rush in. The moment your reactions slow, people recalibrate their behavior around you. They watch more closely. They choose words more carefully. They begin to feel the absence of the signals they normally rely on. That absence creates pressure. Pressure does not need motion to be effective. Gravity does not move, yet it shapes everything around it. Psychological stillness works the same way. It removes the familiar points of orientation others depend on to feel comfortable. This is why silence unsettles unstable people. They cannot read you. They cannot predict you. They cannot tell if they are approved of, dismissed, evaluated, or irrelevant. Their usual methods of gauging position fail. And when those internal instruments fail, discomfort appears. They will attempt to resolve it. Some will over-explain. Some will test boundaries. Some will escalate tone. Some will perform confidence. Others will withdraw entirely. These reactions are not responses to you. They are responses to the void you allow to exist. Most men never experience this because they never allow the void to remain open. The moment tension appears, they relieve it. The moment uncertainty arises, they resolve it. The moment they feel unseen, they increase output. They chase attention through activity. They become louder, not heavier. This is the central inversion of this video. You do not become impossible to ignore by adding more signal. You become impossible to ignore by removing unnecessary noise. When your presence does not immediately adapt to the environment adapts to you. When your reactions are delayed, people fill the gap with projection. When your eyes do not confirm or deny expectation, attention sharpens. This is not intimidation. It is imbalance. And imbalance commands attention because it interrupts the system's ability to proceed normally. There is a reason figures of real consequence throughout history were described as difficult to read. Not because they were hiding chaos, but because their internal order made external display unnecessary. Their emotions were regulated, their expressions restrained, their words measured and sparse. They did not chase relevance, they created gravity. Most men do the opposite. They seek to be seen. They mistake participation for importance. They believe that if they contribute enough, react enough, explain enough, they will be acknowledged. But in doing so, they blend into the background noise they are trying to escape. Noise is abundant. Stillness is rare. And rarity pulls focus whether it wants to or not. The habits explored in this video are not tricks. They are not short-term tactics to manipulate attention. They are structural changes in how you relate to reaction, space, and time. They reduce unnecessary output. They slow internal movement. They replace reflex with containment. That containment becomes visible without announcement. Be warned. Once you operate this way, dynamics change. People interact with you differently. They test you in subtler ways. They watch you more closely. Some grow curious. Some grow uneasy. A few grow resentful without understanding why. You will not be ignored. But you will also not be indulged. This path is not about being admired. It is about becoming impossible to dismiss. And there is a cost to that shift that most men are not prepared to pay. Stillness is not absence. It is pressure without motion. And pressure reshapes attention long before anyone understands what is happening. Most people believe power announces itself. They expect it to be visible, expressive, active. They associate it with decisiveness, dominance, verbal clarity, emotional confidence. This belief is convenient because it allows them to measure power quickly and move on. What they can label, they can categorize. What they can categorize, they can neutralize. True power avoids this entirely. It does not rush to be understood. It does not volunteer context. It does not correct perception immediately. It allows misinterpretation to exist long enough to reveal who is unstable and who is patient. Strategic silence is not the absence of thought. It is the presence of internal order. When a man is internally disordered, silence becomes uncomfortable. He feels exposed without words. He rushes to fill gaps because the gap mirrors his own lack of structure. His speech is not communication. It is self-soothing. He talks to reassure himself that he still exists in the interaction. This is why so many men over-explain. They are not clarifying for others. They are stabilizing themselves. Stillness terrifies unstable systems because it offers no feedback, no confirmation, no emotional echo. Systems built on reaction collapse when reaction disappears. People who rely on cues, approval, resistance, or validation lose their footing when none is provided. This is where silence becomes strategic, not because it dominates, but because it refuses to participate in shallow exchanges. It withholds energy from environments that feed on volatility. It forces others to supply their own meaning. Consider how gravity works. It does not chase objects. It does not announce force. It does not adjust itself to what moves around it. It simply exists with mass. And because it exists, everything else must account for it. Stillness operates the same way psychologically. Reactive men orbit. Immovable men distort the field. A reactive man is pulled by stimuli. Tone changes him. Disrespect provokes him. Approval accelerates him. He is always responding, always adjusting, always leaking information about his internal state. This makes him easy to read and easier to influence. An immovable man does not respond immediately. He absorbs. He delays. He allows emotional input to pass through internal filters before it ever reaches expression. This delay creates asymmetry. Others act while he remains still. Others reveal while he contains. That asymmetry is power. Not because it intimidates, but because it destabilizes expectation. People are trained to expect emotional reciprocity. When it does not arrive, they feel exposed. They begin to question their position. They wonder if they miscalculated. They search for meaning in your restraint. Silence forces interpretation, and interpretation consumes attention. This is why stillness is often mistaken for arrogance. People project motive onto what they cannot decode. They assume superiority because they cannot locate insecurity. They assume judgment because they cannot find affirmation. These projections say nothing about you and everything about them. Strategic silence does not correct these assumptions quickly. Correction would remove the test. A man who explains himself preemptively collapses all tension. He gives away leverage without realizing it. He trades mystery for comfort, and comfort is rarely remembered. When everything about you is accessible, there is no reason to revisit you mentally. This is why silence reshapes reality quietly. It changes pacing. It changes who speaks first. It changes who adjusts. In any interaction, the man who moves least controls the rhythm. The man who speaks last defines the frame. The man who reacts slowly decides what matters. This is not manipulation. It is physics. Mass resists acceleration. Time favors containment. Pressure accumulates where motion is restricted. Most men are trained to relieve pressure immediately. They believe tension is dangerous. They confuse emotional containment with suppression. But containment is not denial. It is discipline. It is choosing when and how energy is released rather than allowing it to leak constantly. This discipline becomes visible even when nothing is said. Your posture changes. Your gaze stabilizes. Your presence slows the room. People feel this before they understand it. This is why strategic silence cannot be faked for long. Men who imitate it without internal order collapse under pressure. Their silence becomes brittle. Their stillness turns rigid. They eventually crack, overreact, or seek validation dramatically. Real stillness is flexible. It absorbs without strain. It is built from internal alignment, not performance. This is also why this mindset isolates. When you stop participating in reactive loops, many interactions lose momentum. Some people drift away. Others grow frustrated. A few attempt to provoke response just to confirm they still have access. This is the cost. Silence filters relationships. Stillness reveals motive. Absence exposes dependency. You cannot maintain strategic silence and still be universally liked. People who require constant feedback will experience you as distant. People who feed on drama will feel starved. People who rely on emotional leverage will lose traction. But those who operate with respect for internal order will recognize something familiar in you. They will not rush you. They will not test you needlessly. They will adjust without being told. This is how reality reshapes itself quietly. No confrontation, no explanation, no announcement. Just a gradual reorientation around someone who does not move unless movement is necessary. The habits that follow are not about acting silent. They are about removing behaviors that drain mass. They are about eliminating reflexes that make you readable. They are about becoming a signal that does not resolve quickly. Not everyone should attempt this, but for those who do, attention stops being something you chase. It becomes something that accumulates. If you recognize yourself in what follows, it should not feel flattering. It should feel clarifying. These are not behaviors you perform for effect. They are internal shifts that change how others respond to you without your participation. Each habit removes noise. Each one increases weight. Together, they create a presence that resists dismissal. The first habit is delayed response. Not silence for its own sake, but the refusal to react immediately. When words or actions reach you, they are processed internally before anything moves outward. Others notice this delay. They fill it with interpretation. They become careful with their next move. The second habit is emotional temperature control. Your internal state does not rise to match the environment. Excitement does not pull you forward. Tension does not pull you into conflict. This steadiness unsettles people who rely on emotional escalation to establish hierarchy. The third habit is restrained expression. Your face does not narrate your thoughts. Your body does not leak urgency. People search for confirmation in your micro-reactions and find none. They begin to watch more closely, often revealing more about themselves than intended. The fourth habit is selective speech. You speak when there is something to add, not to maintain momentum. Your words are sparse, measured, and final. Because you do not repeat yourself, others listen the first time. Because you do not fill silence, silence becomes charged. The fifth habit is the refusal to correct misinterpretation prematurely. When someone misunderstands you in a harmless way, you do not rush to clarify. You allow the assumption to exist. You observe how they treat you under that belief. This reveals more than explanation ever could. The sixth habit is tolerance for discomfort. You do not relieve tension for others. Awkwardness does not alarm you. Pauses do not threaten you. This tolerance shifts the burden outward. Others move to resolve what you are willing to hold. The seventh habit is stable eye contact without demand. Your gaze does not seek approval or reaction. It remains present without pressure. People feel seen without being invited to perform. This creates unease in those accustomed to control. The eighth habit is absence without explanation. When you are not present, you do not justify it. You do not announce return. Your absence creates a gap that others must account for. Systems reorganize when a stable element withdraws quietly. The ninth habit is resistance to provocation. When tested, you do not defend reflexively. You let the attempt land and dissipate. This forces aggressors to escalate or retreat, revealing intent clearly. The 10th habit is internal pacing. You move slower than the environment expects, not lethargic, but unhurried. This disrupts urgency-driven interactions and forces others to match your rhythm or overextend. The 11th habit is emotional economy. You do not spend energy where it will not compound. You do not invest feeling into low-stakes exchanges. This makes your attention valuable when it does appear. The 12th habit is controlled curiosity. You ask fewer questions, but the ones you ask matter. You listen more than you speak. People begin to reveal information unprompted to fill the space you leave open. The 13th habit is non-attachment to outcome. You do not signal need. You are willing to walk away without drama. This removes leverage from those who rely on your investment to control dynamics. The 14th habit is minimal justification. You do not over-defend your choices. You state decisions simply and move on. Others adjust or expose their dependence through resistance. The 15th habit is tolerance for being misunderstood. You accept that not everyone will interpret you correctly. You do not chase perception. This creates a quiet separation between your internal certainty and external opinion. The 16th habit is delayed disclosure. You reveal information slowly over time, not all at once. This prevents others from mapping you completely and keeps interactions open-ended. The 17th habit is emotional containment under praise. Approval does not inflate you. Compliments do not alter your posture. This steadiness removes reward-based control. The 18th habit is calm under exclusion. Being left out does not provoke reaction. Your lack of response reframes exclusion as irrelevant rather than threatening. The 19th habit is internal alignment. Your actions, values, and boundaries are coherent. This coherence is felt before it is understood. People sense when a man cannot be moved easily. Together, these habits form something others cannot name, but respond to instinctively. You become a signal that does not resolve. Attention lingers. People hesitate before ignoring you, not because you demand it, but because something feels unfinished when they try. What you have just read is not a strategy for social success. It is a structural shift in how you exist around other people. And like all structural changes, it carries weight. Not everyone who adopts stillness understands what it removes along with noise. Many men are drawn to silence because they believe it will give them control without cost. They are wrong. Stillness isolates before it empowers. When you stop reacting, you stop reassuring. When you stop explaining, you stop comforting. When you stop filling space, you force others to confront their own internal instability. Some will respect this. Others will feel threatened by it without knowing why. You must be prepared for that response. This mindset does not reward men who seek validation quietly instead of loudly. It does not reward men who want to be admired from a distance. It is not a disguise for insecurity. Weak men attempt to imitate stillness and fail because their silence is empty. It contains nothing. Under pressure, they fracture, overreact, or retreat. True stillness is heavy because it is full. It is filled with self-trust, internal order, and the willingness to let things unfold without interference. That fullness is what others feel when they cannot move you. But fullness also repels those who depend on access. People who need constant emotional exchange will drift away. People who rely on volatility will lose interest. People who manipulate through reaction will test harder, then withdraw. This is not punishment. It is filtration. You will be left with fewer interactions, but they will be clearer. This way of being is not safe for fragile egos. When you remove noise, you expose dependency. When you remove reaction, you reveal motive. When you remove reassurance, you force self-regulation onto others. Some will resent you for this, even if you have done nothing to them. Do not mistake this resentment for power. Power is not how others feel about you. It is how little you need them to feel a certain way. This is why this path cannot be pursued for dominance. The moment you seek control, you reintroduce need. Need leaks, and what leaks becomes readable. The void only works when it is not used as a weapon. It must be neutral. It must be natural. It must be sustained. Otherwise, it collapses into performance. Understand this clearly. Becoming impossible to ignore does not mean becoming central. It means becoming consequential. Your presence shifts behavior. Your absence is noticed. Your words land because they are rare. But this also means you will not be invited everywhere. You will not be included automatically. You will not be carried by social momentum. You will be chosen deliberately or avoided entirely. That is the trade. Stillness removes you from the middle. It places you at the edge where influence is subtle and pressure accumulates over time. This is not a lifestyle for men who need constant confirmation. It is not compatible with dependency on approval. It requires the ability to stand alone without becoming rigid, to be quiet without becoming cold. Most men do not fail because they are ignored. They fail because they cannot tolerate the silence required to stop being ignored. If you choose this path, do not announce it. Do not explain it. Do not correct those who misunderstand you. Let the system adjust on its own. It always does. Mass does not argue with the landscape. It reshapes it simply by being there. And the void does not demand attention. It draws it, slowly, unevenly, and without mercy.